In Power Query, when we use the feature which combines all the files from a folder, it creates a transform sample file for us. This is amazing because any changes we now make to that query are applied to all the other files in the folder. Now, if we've got a workbook with multiple sheets to combine, wouldn't it be nice to have similar functionality? So if we had a transform sample sheet, we could apply any transformations in one place and it would apply them to all the other sheets before they're combined together. Well, that's what we're going to do in this video. Now, it's one of those processes where you need to go through it a few times to really understand it. So make sure you download the example file and work along to get to grips with how it works. And once you've done that, if you're ready, let's get started. Here's the data that we're working with. We have 4 tabs that each contain data for 2022 to 2025. The issue is our header row because in each of our columns we have a different time period. Therefore, we can't just combine this data together in a simple way. There's also an other sheet which contains some information that we don't want to import into Power Query. Okay, so that's our data. Now let's close this workbook and import it into Power Query. In a new workbook, I'll click Data, Get Data, From File, and From Excel Workbook. Then I need to navigate to the location where the workbook is saved. I can select it and click Import. Now, often when we import data from a workbook, we might select an individual sheet or even select multiple sheets. But in this scenario, we want to import all the data from the workbook. Therefore, we want to click the folder with the workbook name and then click Transform Data. That now loads our workbook with all of the tabs into Power Query. I'm going to start by renaming my query to Worksheet Data. Next, we want to retain only the worksheets that start with the name Data. So I'll click on the Filter button in the Name column, come down to Text Filters, and then go to Begins With. In the dialog box, we will enter Data and then click OK. This gives us only the sheets that we want to combine. If I click on the white space in any one of the values in our data column, it will display the values for each sheet. So you can see we have the values for 2022, 2023, and the remaining years. And these are the values that we want to combine together in our final query. The first step to building our transform sample sheet is to create a parameter. In the Home ribbon, we can go to Manage Parameters and then select New Parameter. Initially, we just want to create a parameter that holds something. Then we'll go into the M code and change the type of value that our parameter holds. We're going to call this parameter Sheet Data. We'll leave all the other options as default. Then for the current value, we're just going to enter the words any value. It doesn't matter what we enter in here. Then we can click OK. If we come back to the Worksheet Data query, you will notice that the data from each of our worksheets is in a column called Data. So now we can come back to our parameter and click Advanced Editor. You will notice at the start of the query that it has the text any value. This is the dummy text that we created. And we're going to replace it with the data column from the first row of our Worksheet Data query. To do that, we need our query name, which is Worksheet Data. Then I'll enter an opening square bracket. This is the column name that we want to refer to, and that column name was Data. Now we only want to refer to the first value in that table. Therefore, in curly brackets, we're going to enter 0 because Power Query is 0 based. Therefore, 0 is the first row in the table. We have no syntax errors, so we can click Done. Next, we want to create a new blank query. I'll right-click on the Queries pane, go to New Query, Other Sources, and then Blank Query. First, we're going to rename this query to Transform Sample Sheet. Now, we need to allocate the value to the source. The value that we want to allocate is the value held by our parameter. So in the formula bar, I can type equals and then the name of our parameter, which was Sheet Data. That parameter was pointed to the data column and the first row of our worksheet data. So when we commit that, those are the values that are displayed. We can now right-click on this query and select Create Function. We need to give our function a name. I'm going to call it FX Transform Sheet. It already recognizes that we have used our sheet data parameter in the query. And then I can click OK. This now creates a group that contains our parameter, our transform sample sheet query, and also our function. Because we created the function directly from the query, it means the query and function are tied together. Any changes we make to the query are automatically included within the function. Now you're probably wondering, well, how does this work? Currently, we have a parameter which is pointing to the Data 2022 worksheet. We've used this parameter inside our transform sample sheet, and then from that we've created a function. Therefore, if we apply it to the Data 2023 worksheet, it will apply the function to that data. Or if we point it to the Data 2024 worksheet, it will apply it to that data. Therefore, the value in the parameter is a variable which can easily be switched to point at other sources. And that is what we will do in a few moments' time. But before we do that, let's go and add the necessary transformations to our transform sample sheet. So let's head back into our transform sample sheet query and start making the necessary transformations. Now the key to success with this method is that all of the column names that are hard-coded into the query must exist in all of our other worksheets. Therefore, as we make transformations, we need to pay attention to the formula bar to make sure it doesn't reference columns that won't exist in all those sheets. Currently, Power Query has automatically applied the change type and promoted header step. We don't want either of those steps, so we can click on the cross to delete them. The first transformation we want to make is to remove the top 3 rows. From the Home ribbon, I will click Remove Rows and then Remove Top Rows. We want to remove 3 rows and then I can click OK. We don't need column 1, so I can select that and press delete. We're now ready to promote our header row, so I can click Use First Row as Headers. You'll notice that Power Query has automatically applied the change type step, which hard codes the dates that won't exist in all of our other sheets. So we need to delete our changed type step. Next, we want to remove the total row from our data. We know that the item column will exist on every single worksheet. Therefore, we can include this column name in our transformations. So I'll click on the filter icon. I can then uncheck the word total and then click OK. We're now ready to unpivot our data. We know that the size column also appears on all of our worksheets. So I can select the item column, hold Shift and select the size column to select both columns. Then from the transform ribbon, I can click on the unpivot columns drop down and select unpivot other columns. This means that Power Query will hardcode the item and the size column names, but not any of the date column names. Once that unpivots, we now have columns for item, size, attribute, and value. I'm just going to rename attribute to date. So we now have a query that takes a worksheet and turns it into a structured data set. If we look in the advanced editor, you'll notice that our transformations only ever reference columns which exist in all of our worksheets, so this won't cause us any errors. Now, our worksheet data query was used to create our parameter. The parameter was used to create the transform sample sheet, and the transform sample sheet was used to create our custom function. Therefore, our worksheet data is now our sample sheet. So let's drag this sheet up into our FX transform sheet group. We'll then right click on that query and create a reference to that query. We're going to drag that query into the other queries folder, and let's rename this to combined data. Now we can use our custom function. To do that, we go to add column and then invoke custom function. This function will create a new column. That column name is going to be transform sheet. We then declare which function we want to use in this column. We only have one, which is our FX transform sheet function. And finally, we get to select which column we want to apply this function to. we're going to apply it to our data column, and then we can click OK. Next, we're going to select the name column, hold Control and select our transform sheet column. Then from the home ribbon, we can go to remove columns and remove other columns. Next, we're going to expand our transform sheet column. So I'll click the expand icon. We don't want to use the original column names as prefix. And when we click OK, that now combines all of those worksheets together into a single query. We start with January 2022, and as we scroll down, eventually we will get to December 2025. So that is our 4 worksheets combined together. Now, unfortunately, there is still one more change we need to make. Power Query has hard-coded the item, size, date, and value columns into our query. So we are going to edit the M code for this step. We're going to remove all of those column names, and then we're going to use table.columnNames, and we want to use the column names based on the transform sample sheet query. When we commit that, we now have all of our data and our column names are not hard-coded into this result. So let's go and make a change to our transform sample sheet and see if those changes flow through into our combined data. I will select the size column and press delete. That was applied to our transform sample sheet, which was our 2022 sheet. Then, using our custom function, that change was applied to all the other sheets. Therefore, when we come to our combined data, we no longer have that size column for any of our worksheets. Let's just apply our data types. So item should be text, value should be a decimal number, and to make sure that this UK date works in any region, we're going to click on the icon and go to using locale. We want to change the data type to a date, and we want to set the locale to English United Kingdom. Then when we click OK, that will then change that into a date format, no matter which region you are in. And that is it. We have created a transform sample sheet functionality, which is similar to the transform sample file that Power Query creates automatically when combining all the files from a folder. And now, anytime that we want to make transformations to all of our worksheets, we just need to make the transformation inside our transform sample sheet, and it will be applied to all the other sheets in the workbook before they are combined. If you like this video, then why not subscribe and get notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos. And if you're looking for some more advanced Power Query techniques, why not check out this video next? I think it's another one you'll really enjoy. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.